What is going on, everybody? This one will probably have quite a few viewers that watch it back in the future. So let me just take 1 second to let people jump in the chat. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to comment or let me know. Message me in the comments or chat. And what we're going to do today is we're going to oil wash our terrain. So it should be fun. So if you watched the last stream, I was sitting here dry brushing all of this stuff on these little like spikes and stuff, and I was trying to make it match the wall sections, which unfortunately it's way brighter, but I was trying to make it match the wall sections pretty good. And I just was wasting so much time. I just went in and blasted it all with the airbrush, and I'll just pick out the wood again because it was just taking way too much time and not getting a good result. I'm hoping that the brightness of these sections after the oil wash will maybe be a little bit more in line with these sections. If not, maybe we'll apply some kind of Nuln Oil or some kind of wash to darken them up. The only really disappointing thing about having to do it this way was I went ahead and airbrushed this guy to get these all done, which means I have to go clean up this statue again all underneath. Now, luckily, when it's on the table, you wouldn't really see most of that anyway, but I will have to try to clean this up and match it. And I was a little disappointed on that because I really liked how he came out already, but it was just not working doing the dry brushing to try to match everything. So we're going to actually test out the Ghost dry brushes for using them for oil washes, because some of the backers may have, maybe they don't have access to some brushes like these, which you can get pretty cheap online. They're like, they say Kolinsky Sable, but they're probably fake. But they're big, fluffy, natural hair brushes that can hold a lot of moisture. So like this one would be really good for oil washing large terrain pieces. This one as well, also good for just applying washes. So we're going to see how the synthetic Ghost dry brush number 2 works out for us. We're going to use possibly Q-tips or cotton swabs to wipe away the excess oil wash. And we're going to be using, we're just going to go through all the supplies first, so if you're watching this in the future, you can probably skip ahead if you don't care. I'm going to be using Chromatic Black from Gamblin Oil Colors and Rose, or Ultramarine Rose from Sennelier. So these would both be fairly cheap. This is only a Series 2. And I think Chromatic Bag, it's a Series 2. So if you don't know, usually oil paints go like Series 1 to 6 or maybe 1 to 8. And the lower the number, the cheaper they are. So these would be fairly cheap. You could probably get them at jerrysartorama.com. This purple color actually turned out to match the kind of purple I've already done quite well. So we're going to make a dark purple wash, kind of a neutral dark purple wash, and apply it to all of my terrain. After I airbrushed it all, I went through and I gloss varnished all of it. So that should help the oil paint flow really nicely. And I'm a little worried that I don't want to remix this multiple times. So I think I'm going to fill this whole thing up with the oil wash. And that way I should have enough to do all the pieces of terrain. And then maybe a little extra to save. So should be good. And we'll get started here in a second. As I like to do with oil paint for miniature painting is use cardboard as my palette. And that's to help absorb the oil out of the paint. So I don't know how much we're going to need. I know I want to make more than enough though. So we'll just start with kind of a lot and we'll go from there. When I've done oil washes in the past, sometimes I don't think I actually use enough black and it doesn't quite apply the deep shadows that we could be getting. I might even cut up an old t-shirt for wiping away the excess. This one's, I mean, all my oil paints are old. This one's quite old. And it might be a little chunky too, but hopefully we can just wipe that away when the time comes. So I measured it out, and 2 of these cups is 1 of these. So if I fill this up twice and pour it in here, I could fill this up. So we'll mix it in here, pour it in here, mix another one in here, pour it in here, and then whatever the combination of the 2 will be our total, I guess. Total color we're going for. We may need our oil paints more. We'll put them up here so people can see them. And as always, if you're doing oil painting, I think it's worth it to go for Gamsol from Gamblin. This is 100% pure odorless mineral spirits. It is, I believe, tested as the least toxic of all the mineral spirits. So yeah, you could get it from the hardware store, but maybe it's worth it to spend just that little extra. Especially if you're a miniature painter, you might not be using this all that often anyway, so it's going to last you a long time. And I think it's worth it to spend the extra and just save yourself potentially a little bit of health. So let's jump over to the chat, see if anybody's in. Nope, looks like we're just doing this as a normal video tonight then. And I went ahead and picked up some more Warcry stuff. The local game store finally opened back up. So I think, even though we are going to use the Ghost Dry Brush for applying it, it's going to be a little hard on the brush to mix it. So we'll just get a cheap beat up brush. And we're going to go with this one, which is nice and beat up. Actually, I'm going to go with the bigger one. I have a bigger one. I'm going to go with this one, which you can find at like a local craft store. Royal Soft Grip, size 10, synthetic round. And this will be our stirring brush. So I think actually we might have to move some of this. That way we can show you what's happening. So the goal is, there's actually mineral spirits in here too. The goal is to make a dark neutral purple. And then we're going to apply it to everything. So hopefully we do a good job. This is always stressful when you go about trying something like this because you know you're about to commit to tinting it on, hey, Tempa's in the building, what's going on? Yeah, you know you're about to commit to putting it on all of your hard work. So you got all these pieces. I have all of them ready to go. This one actually is just the darkest because it was the first test one. And sadly, I like the darkest part the best, but oh well. It's hard to match it once you keep going. But also this one's a little more gray. I don't know. This one just, the first one came out the best, but anyway, it's all good. I'm going to wash everything, and then once it's dry, I'll matte coat it again. I'll do all the bricks, some of these details, the gates, the metal. But we have to commit to doing all of our oil wash here. So we'll start off, I got a pipette here. Let's see, where's the best way to... Maybe we'll move this to the side. There we go. Actually, I might have to do this a few times because 2 of these full is enough to fill up my dropper bottle. But 2 of these full is going to be a little bit of a pain to try to pour. What are you working on tonight, Joe? Or are you working? All right, so we're using Gamsol mineral spirits, rose, ultramarine rose, and you'll see it dissolves pretty quick. And I'll just demonstrate a little bit of purple, a little bit of black, and there you go. We got sort of a nice dark smoky purple wash. And we're just gonna keep going and try to keep working on that until we get something we like. And I'm gonna try to mix it up good. When I tested my purples, I noticed this one was a really good match color-wise, but it was a little chunky. You can see there's like bits of chunkiness floating in it. So I think we're going to ignore that and then just try to pay attention to removing them after we apply it to our pieces. So I'm just trying to thin it out. It's like you're making a sauce or a salad dressing or something. Just trying to get full, the paint fully dissolved into the mineral spirits. And we'll add some more. Probably won't actually need all that black, but we'll see. Like I said, some of my oil washes I've done, I'm used to be more of an oil painter, but I haven't played with oil washes on miniatures a ton, but I've been very interested in doing it more. And the oil washes I have done on models seem like I don't go dark enough. And that's a mistake because there's the ability to wipe it away. So you probably should be going a little darker. But in the beginning, it's okay because, you're still learning. Just like all of us. So like that's a pretty nice dark purple, but I honestly think it has to be much darker than that for it to really affect it. The thought process here is a dark purple black or black purple, whatever you want to call it. That way it matches really well with the bottoms of my terrain where I did this kind of purple glaze effect, and then leaves a hint of a purple black shadow in all the stone, more like just kind of gray rose stone areas near the top. And that should be pretty effective in tying it all together. And then I can use my Q-tips or old cut up t-shirt, paper towels, whatever, to wipe away and kind of retrieve this kind of light color at the top. I think that's going to give us a good advantage of using this squirty bottle, is I don't have to then do every terrain piece at the same time and then try to get them all cleaned up at the same time. I could actually, do a couple and then take a break and do a couple more. Granted, it's a little bit of a pain to... it's not a pain, but when you clean a paintbrush after oil painting, you got to give it a little extra. You don't just swish it in water, because that won't do anything. I think we're looking pretty good. I'm going to add some more purple. And remember, I got to do this probably 2 or 3 times for filling up my little squirt bottle. And then a nice thing too about that squirt bottle will be I could shake it. So I could really make sure I mix it up good. And we're just stirring it up, making a dark purple. This is basically It looks probably a little blacker on camera actually than it does in real life. I could see the purple a lot better. But that's mostly just because I don't know how to do anything with the camera. Probably should have mixed this up maybe before I started the stream, since this is going to take a little bit. But I have to make sure I have enough to do all of it, because I don't want to have to do this. I don't want to have to try to match. It's going to be really hard. So let's see what kind of mess we make if we pour this in. These little cups from the dollar store for like little hors d'oeuvres or whatever are really nice for pouring because they have kind of a little lip on them. So we're not even close to filling that yet, so we got to keep going. And I think I see some, if I can see a little chunk there, I'll just remove it if I can. I don't know if that came off the brush or not. I don't think it did. So the name of the game here is Dark Purple. That first one we stirred up too probably could have been thinner, so we'll make this one even thinner to kind of balance out, and probably make this one a little blacker to finish, or to balance out the more purple we did in the first batch. The idea is that collectively all of them mixed together will look good. It's going to just be the same two colors, right? Could test it on a piece. I'll give it a little test here. Let me try to get, this brush holds a lot, so we'll just test it on this like little skulls. And there you go. It's kind of like a nice purple wash, and then you could use your finger, you know, we'll use a towel or whatever to... I'm doing it right here because this area is going to be not, you know, it's not on the stone. So yeah, it's looking good. It's going to work good, I think. It's like a nice black purple wash. I want the purple effect to be subtle because when it goes over this light area on the top ends of the terrain, I don't want it to just stain all my hard work purple. I want this to be like Nuln Oil with a hint of purple. And we'll give that a pour into our dropper. When this is filled up, or this thing fills this up like twice, but it's filled all the way to the top, whereas when I'm having to stir it, I can't fill it all the way up to the top. So yeah, this might be the worst stream of all time. Oh, actually, I can see a lot of chunks just sitting here. So we stirred that a lot, so we know those aren't getting mixed up if they're still sitting there. So I'll just pull this out right now to save myself. If anybody's in the chat, let me know, because this is going to take a little bit. Crafter's Forge, what's going on, man? How's it going? I wanted to show how to make this wash, but because I need to make enough for all of the terrain pieces, it's actually taking a little bit longer than I originally thought it was gonna. So the first part of this is gonna be a little boring for people. I'm using a ultramarine rose and chromatic black, and I'm just creating a dark purple oil wash with Gamsol mineral spirits to thin it down. And a really cheap brush. And then we're going to apply it with a Ghost dry brush to see a test on how they work for applying oil washes. I actually expect them to work very well, but it'd be nice to see. I mean, it'd be nice to be able to let people know, like if for some reason the oil paint destroys the paintbrush, then I'll be able to tell people not to use them for oil painting. But I think it'll be fine. Just because I have such old oil paint, I'm trying to make sure I get all the chunks dissolved that I can. I mean, my oil paint's 15 years old, maybe. Nah, not that long. 12 years old. Nah, it's getting close to 15 years old now that I think about it. I guess I'm getting old. Now, because I'm putting it in the little squeeze bottle, I do have some advantage of being able to shake it once it's all in there, so maybe I'm being a little too careful. Oh no, that was bad. All of a sudden my little pouring thing betrayed me. Gonna have to put the paper towel down. Actually, the paper towel probably let you see a little bit better what the actual colors looking like. So dang. Seriously, I tested it. Filled this up twice, yet I've still only reached this point. I'm just gonna put a few nice squirts straight of the Gamsol into here. There we go. Make sure that's nice and thin. Looks like we're going to need more black and purple on our palette here. Yeah, I'll probably have to, in the description, let people know what part to skip to if they want to see the oil paint being applied, because this definitely was not intended to take this long. I thought it would just be like a couple minutes of stirring, but here we are trying to... I don't want to jump ahead though, because I need to make sure I have enough for all the terrain. Just all the entire Warcry starter set. So there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 6 walls, a bell tower, some scatter terrain. I'm gonna make more than I actually need, but I think it's better in this case to have too much instead of too little. And we'll just keep going with our nice Gamsol mineral spirits. If I make these mixes in the little cup a little bit more pigment dense, then I can just fill the bottle up with mineral spirits, and that would be faster. But yeah, here we are. Let's see. We've been going for 24 minutes. Yeah, so this is going to be... I'm going to definitely have to let people know which time to skip to, because I don't think anybody wants to watch me stir for 24 minutes. you know, I'm sure there was some value in the beginning going over the supplies, but any chunks that aren't dissolving at all, I'm trying to pick them out, but luckily we'll be able to wipe them away once they're on the terrain. And I think this will give me, I know you don't have to by any means do the terrain one piece at a time, but with this, having it in the squirty bottle, I'll be able to probably actually do that, you know, just a 1 or 2 pieces at a time. And that'll give me a lot of control over how the finished product looks. Although I think it actually is maybe a little better to let your oil paint dry for at least a little bit on the model before you start using things to wipe it off. While it's still wet, you could definitely just go right in with Q-tips and stuff and wipe it away. But if you're going to be using like Q-tips dipped in mineral spirits and stuff, it might be a little better to let it settle for a bit. Trying to keep my gloves clean so I can click back and forth on my chat and my camera app here. All right, let's see if we can spill some more. Doing okay. Gonna get an extra paper towel here. I just want to make sure my bottle is not overly messy. And I think let's go in with like a lot of black. Actually, we'll go with a lot of black and a lot of purple. Just keep going. I don't know if I'll need this black purple oil wash for anything in the future. I'll probably just force myself to use it on something. But I'm going to have quite a bit, hopefully, left over. I don't think I'm going to buy any more Warcry terrain. I was eyeballing if I wanted to pick up any of those extra sets. Like the temple or the forest. Maybe in the future. But so far, I mean, I've been working on this terrain for quite a bit. And I've been having a pretty good time with it, but it's not my favorite process here. I definitely like miniature painting a little bit better than terrain. And this is my first set of terrain that I'll actually be keeping at the house for a while. Maybe forever, who knows. So I am trying to do a good job instead of just rattle can it real quick from 2 directions, or you know, I did some airbrush gradient stuff and then some dry brush, and I ended up doing all the dry brush of the kind of stone color off camera because it was just it's been taking a long time. But the final color I ended up dry brushing over it was the silver gray from Vallejo Model Color. So, and after the oil wash, it might need even one more light dry brush towards the top again once it's been oil washed, matte coated, and dried. Well, this one I'm seeing a lot of chunks that aren't getting mixed up. This process of smashing a brush into this over and over again is very hard on it. That's why I'm just going with this cheap craft store brush. Which actually I've just had for a really long time. It might actually, I don't know what this one would have cost at a craft store. The Ghost dry brush might actually be cheaper because my prices are pretty good. So this might have, you know, who knows, it might have been $5 at the store. But it's a big one, so it's good for, and like I said, I've had it just about as long, if not longer, as I had my oil paint, so very, very long time. So might as well get some use out of it. Alright, now I think we're about, unless we spill all this. Getting a little more, in the beginning I was a little less sloppy, but I think there's a little more chunks in it, which are causing it to, but it's not too bad, and we're pretty close there. I think we'll do one more. Put a couple of these right in. Yeah, I think we'll just do one more. See if we can't scoop up the remainder of this purple. That black. I'm going to need some more black in this, so I'm just going to put it right in since we're about done. We'll make this one fairly dark, I guess. It's just an all-over dark wash with a hint of purple to hopefully make it more interesting than just like, you know, I could have done Nuln Oil gloss or whatever. Yeah, what the heck, maybe we'll add a little more purple too, since this will be our final. Final mix here. Let me know if anything's lagging or anything like that. I always get this warning. It says my video resolution is not optimal, but I have it set for, you know, the 1080p, so I don't know if I want to drop it to the 720. Since most of my views for these are after the fact, obviously there's not a ton of people rushing to the live stream. Yeah, basically midnight purple wash would be a good description. I think GW actually has a really dark purple color called maybe Nagaroth Night. I don't have it, but something like that, maybe with some Nuln Oil, or maybe even the Shaiish purple contrast paint plus the Black Templar contrast paint plus a bunch of Flow Improver or something probably would be a good dark purple wash. But the advantage of the oil wash is after I put it on everything, I can wipe it away and hopefully return a lot of my highlight work, which is just dry brushing and stuff, but, you know, return it up to its light stone color. And then hopefully with just one final dry brush after it's long been dried and matte varnished again, hopefully we'll be in business. And then it's on to all the details. Like on these, this wall here, I'm going to pick out these little sections of bricks. Some of the other ones have metal gates. And then, of course, I got to go back in and do all the wood on these. This one, some of these got so bright because they just weren't over black like the other sections. But I'm not going back. We're going to try to fix that and make it match with hopefully this wash, or if we have to, maybe that bottom area we'll get a little airbrush of maybe some Nuln Oil down there just to darken it if need be. There's all kinds of problems I could have, though, of it just really not matching. But it probably isn't going to be a big deal on the tabletop. It's probably only a big deal here under my bright lights and working on it close up. Most people probably aren't really going to notice. All right, this one might be a little chunky. Cool. We're good. And we'll just try to thin out here in our cup to get the last little bits. It's like painting for gold. There's little chunks of paint floating in here, which actually I would like to get out, but let's move on. Cool. And maybe we'll just do one more. All right, we filled it. Well, after I pour this in, it should be full. This is almost cleaning, like in a way, cleaning my paintbrush too. It's mostly mineral spirits now. And I'm just rubbing the paintbrush in there. So getting the last little bit of oil paint out of my cup here and starting the cleaning process. All right, we're good. There we go. Voila, full. Screw that on. Oil wash extraordinaire. Oh, I hope this is good. And now we can actually shake it up too. So that's gonna be nice. And let's just put a little bit on the... Yeah, that looks good. It's running good. Hopefully it's got enough purple to make it interesting and make it worth it. When you clean an oil paintbrush, the best thing to do is first just wipe it. Like put some pressure on, give it a squeeze and pull. And you want to just pull out all that oil and pigment. Then you can go in with your, where's that little cup? Then you can go in with your more pure mineral spirits. Give it a rinse. And then give it another wipe. So there you go. That's still a little bit coming off, but I think we're fine. We'll probably wash that with some Dawn dish soap after this. And since this is just mineral spirits with whatever residue was on our brush, let's go ahead and pour it in our little pot here. Why not? Don't need to waste it. All right, let me clean up my area just a touch. Get my paint out of the way. Awesome. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like it says, oh, there's lag or whatever, and then I haven't had anybody mention it as it actually having those problems. So, okay. we made a little bit of a mess, so giving it a good wipe with the old paper towel. Cool, so we'll start with, we can use this little cup here. And, you know, I think I might put a paper towel under it. And I guess we'll start with just like a piece of scatter terrain. If for some reason this went horribly wrong, of course, it'd be easier to redo a piece of scatter terrain. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and try out the Ghost 2 dry brush for applying an oil wash. So it should be good. It looks like 41 minutes of me mixing that oil wash. Oh man, that's a bummer for anybody watching this back who doesn't click on the description below. I'll timestamp it. Skip the 40 minutes to see it actually get used. So we'll just shake it up, make sure we got a good complete mix in here. Should probably write on this with a Sharpie, like, you know, black, purple, oil wash. But I only have one of these, so it should be easy to remember for now. But if I make another one. So we'll spray some into our cup here. I don't know how much we're gonna need. This will also give me an opportunity to pick out any chunks that I see, but it looks good. And we'll just start on this piece here. So you can see how absorbent the Ghost dry brush is, like completely dry. And then you just touch it and it pulls it all the way in. So that's why I expect this will be pretty good for this, because I have really soft brushes. And you just want to panel line it, basically. It's not pulling into all the recesses quite as much as I expected it to. And there we go. We just rub it on our broken column here. We don't have to do the stuff around it because that'll be... Actually, maybe just in case, we'll apply it to these areas around too. Just a little bit. Just in case we want that shadow there later. So there we go, there's one. These have been gloss varnished with AK glossy varnish. You can see it runs smooth on it. I'll do all these little scatter terrains and then maybe we could wipe some of it away and some of the excess, but so the advantage of the oil wash is it's gonna flow really nice and it's not gonna overly stain our brighter surfaces. It's probably actually gonna flow right off onto the table. So maybe I'll put these on a paper towel off to the side, just so I don't blind everybody with too many white paper towels on screen. You can get a similar effect if you use like the GW gloss washes are really nice if you use them over. Oh my lord, is that a part I didn't clean or is that a part of the model? I think it's a part of sprue I didn't clip off. I'll have to touch that up. Oh, but you can actually, the GW gloss washes are really nice over a if you gloss varnish a model and then use like a gloss Nuln Oil, you can get a very similar effect that what the oil wash is doing, where it's not overly staining the flat surfaces and really easily finding its way to the recesses. Can't believe that's like a big piece. No, I think it is a part of the model. It looks sculpted from below. Let's see if the other one has it. Yeah, the other one has it too. So I think it's part of the model. Okay. I was going to say, what a fail if I missed that much. You don't actually have to gloss varnish your model before you do an oil wash, supposedly, because the chemical reaction of the Gamsol mineral spirits shouldn't affect acrylic paint, especially dried acrylic paint. But it does increase flow because there's less surface tension. So if you really want that panel line effect of it just in the recesses, and you don't have to wear gloves for this necessarily, but oil paint is toxic, so it's not a terrible idea. I usually am just wearing, well, in this case I might actually wear gloves, probably, if I was doing it not on camera, but most of the time I'm just wearing gloves for the camera, just to save everybody a little bit of white balance. Alright, now let's put it on a, so we did on the little ruin pieces. Show you here on some of these top pieces. It should be pretty minimal effect. Give that a little shake again. See, it runs really smooth. And hopefully fills in all those little cracks nicely. And gives it just a hint of purpley kind of shadow. Still not sure, but I was going to say I wasn't sure either though if it was going to be a super good effect right over the smooth surface like this, but we have to make it all match, so it'll be fine. We can use our cotton swabs to kind of manipulate how we want this finish to look. And I'll just try to, just like a wash, try to get off some of the recesses. I think I'm going to go this direction just to not make it look like I put one solid brush stroke down the middle. Alright, we'll knock all of those out real quick. Yeah, with these being gloss, it really just runs off very easily. But we just need to stain all the surfaces, give it that weathered look. I think the terrain looks pretty cool already with the gradation or gradients of the airbrush effects and stuff, but you know, it looks pretty clean, so this should add quite a bit of kind of grime to it. It almost gives it like a little bit of a marble kind of look with that purple tone. We got one more big one. Then we got a couple little ones, and then we'll move on to some of these wall sections so we can see how it works on those. then the really forgiving thing is I can put the wash on all this stuff, and then I have plenty of time to go back and wipe it away. So just for the sake of the video, I'll probably, after I do these little rooftops, just so I get them all done, and then I'll do a little bit of the wall sections for the video, and then that'll probably be it for the stream. And maybe I'll just keep, I don't know, maybe I'll keep going. I actually slept already for quite a while, so I don't think I need to go to bed anytime soon. But I do like to work on my paintbrushes during the day. Not painting, but working on the Kickstarter shipping, so definitely got to switch over to that mode. But I knew I wanted to get this washed and drying. That way maybe by Sunday, Monday, I mean probably Sunday it'll be ready to go, but I'm going to let it sit for a little bit longer than that. Yeah, I'm definitely glad I made the whole squeeze bottle, just so I don't even have to worry about trying to make it last. And we haven't even got to the big wall sections yet, so who knows how much it's actually going to take to get a nice look on those. Yeah, so this is oil washing. It's very forgiving. Takes a little bit of extra time with, putting the gloss varnish down on the model. But the fact, once we get to wiping it off, which I'll show you here in a second, is what makes it, the working time is very nice, because we can do all these pieces and then go back in and kind of wipe away and clean up and just leave it in the recesses mostly. So that's all the flat pieces there. So maybe we'll do the 2 little wall sections, and then I'll start cleaning them for the camera, and then maybe we'll just continue to keep going, but that way people can see. But yeah, we're just going to cover it like an all-over wash. Make sure it fills in everything. And even on my wash here, it's probably one of those still where I probably could have went a little bit more heavy with the black pigment, or the pigment in general. But you can see it's just running into all those recesses. And this is a black wash, and it's not even overly staining. Like, there's with the wash, there's without the wash. And it just easily finds its way into recesses. And then the ability to wipe it off is going to let us just keep it in those recesses, which a lot of times is what you want your wash to do. Sometimes you use it to your advantage, the fact that like a Nuln Oil or Agrax Earthshade is going to also stain the surface quite a bit. So when you apply it, you're not only darkening the recesses, but you're darkening it all over, and that's giving you, a nice darker tone to work your highlights on top of. But in this case, we did a lot of that with the airbrush already. So it's probably better to just darken the recesses mostly and unify the finish. Now you can see there, oil wash, and then just wipe it on, and then you can move it away. And I'll go back to the first pieces I applied this to and start removing it. Now this area here, like these bricks, they're going to be painted a different color. They're just too different of a texture to not pick them out separate, I think. The terrain looks like they should be a different material in the columns and decorative stuff. So oil washing them's really not that big of a deal since I plan on painting over it, which means it's going to use its own wash. Thinking maybe a brick red, but possibly even just like a gray blue. Kind of stay in the with the purples. Well, I don't know. It kind of goes either, would work either way, right? Purple is red and blue. So we have options. If we want to kind of keep it in the same family of colors, we could go kind of a brick red or kind of a stone blue, and either way, purple has red and blue. So the color harmony should be fine. Just making sure we cover it up nice. All right, we'll leave this brush. Oh, maybe we should, we'll do this big wall section too, just so, since we've been looking at it the whole time here. So yeah, like these columns will remain in the purple family, but like these little brick sections, I'll make sure are picked out as a different color. Yeah, so here on the wall sections, you can see it's not a ton of overpowering effect, but it's definitely darkening those recesses. And I do honestly think I could have went a little bit more pigment heavy in the wash. Seems, since I'm going to be wiping it away anyway. I kind of stippled some texture on the top here, so might be able to see a little bit. Some of these platforms that I was just doing, they'll go over top of these, so I don't actually have that marked which ones are going to be covered or not, so we'll just do them all. And you can really pile it on and wipe it away later. The person I was watching a lot do oil washes that made me really want to try more, even though I was an oil painter a bit of my life, that Marco from Not Just Mecha, he does these like Warcry speed paints that are really pretty cool, and a lot of times he does like an oil wash on his figures, but I think he's using a much darker. It's hard to tell though, right? When things are on camera, you can't really tell exactly how much has been adjusted. And I know when it comes to miniature painters and cameras, things are heavily, heavily adjusted. Contrast and saturation, everything. Especially people that paint non-metallic metal. They are going out of their way to make major photo editing to make that look real. So I'll just get all this nice wash. And it hopefully ties the top with the purple. Gives it kind of a unified purple tone or hint. And then hopefully once we hit it with some cotton swabs and stuff, we can pull out some of the brightest highlight areas and be good to go. I don't think I did this side yet. Maybe I did. Alright, let's just put this one. Put it on its own paper towel. All right, let me get a drink. No mayo in the building. What's going on, man? Yeah, we're doing oil washes on some Warcry terrain. So I think the first ones we did were the little scatter terrains. So we'll go there. Now I heard if you actually buy Q-tip brand, they don't fall apart as much. Whereas I have Equate cotton swabs, but it's okay. If we lose some cotton onto our terrain, we can scrape it off later, I'm sure. So the goal here is we can use our cotton swab and just use it to roll away excess on the flat areas. And bring back some of our highlighted areas. I'm not even going to do a ton of this because I kind of like the grimy look that we got going here. I think I actually, even though it didn't make super dark shadows, because I did a lot of that with the airbrush, I think we actually are good with some of this kind of more grimy tint to the stone color. But you can see we're just absorbing it off here. Now if you dip this in mineral spirits, you can really wipe it away, like almost like an eraser. When it starts falling apart like that, I'm going to just switch sides, and then when they both fall apart, I'm going to throw it away and do another one. This is probably not, you know, you're going to waste a lot of Q-tips. A lot of Q-tips are going in the garbage. You don't need to be overly cautious trying to make your Q-tip last a while. I'm going to throw that one away, start a new one. So yeah, here, like, you know, on that flat edge, on these flat edges of the columns, white. Try to pick out I'm rolling it over the little Sigmarine head and some of the edges. Try to pick out some of those highlighted details. Yeah, be curious. I need to actually pick up Q-tip branded Q-tips to see if they fall apart less for this task. Could also smush it into areas and absorb the oil paint out of it. Throw that Q-tip away. So these are cleaned up, and I think they look pretty sharp. Ready to sit and dry. Now let's try some of these flat areas we did. Now I think they got kind of a little bit of a marble look going on, but let's see what a dry Q-tip does, and then maybe we'll even try a little bit of a wet one. So we're definitely manipulating it pretty good. You can see, like, as I just run through, I can push it. Now, I think I'm going to have to create a little bit more randomness in it, because now, look, going back and forth like this, I'm leaving little streaks. So I think we're going to want to do a little bit more randomness. Or what we could actually do, yeah, I'll mess it up a little bit, and then what I'll probably end up doing is one more little, like, stippling on top to pull out some of that kind of stone texture. But yeah, that worked really good. Like it gives it just that hint of purple, whereas it was almost like a gray white color before. Now it's got that purple tint. You know, if it was on top of that, I think that would look pretty nice once we get all the wood and stuff done. So yeah, I don't even think I'm gonna bother with dipping these cotton swabs in the mineral spirits. I just don't think it's gonna matter. I don't think there's gonna be any area that we want to actually clean up that far to remove that much. I think we like the hint of purple grime that we achieved. I say we because it feels like we're working on this together because it's a live stream, but I guess it's literally just me sitting here. Yeah, I'll try to mess that up a little bit just so it's a little more chaotic than looking like I wiped it away with a sponge or a cotton swab. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Almost got like a purple marble to it in a way, which I think is going to be pretty striking. It's like a marbling effect almost, which wasn't intentional. I just wanted it kind of purple sandstone. But it's not marble, right? There's no vein type marbling. But it does, with that purple tint over that kind of silver gray sandstone color. I don't know, I'm getting a little bit of a marble vibe. I really kind of like it. For these areas, you can just kind of roll it across and pick up a lot of that in the excess area. Which I don't know if we necessarily wanted to remove all that, but we did. If we wanted to, we could go back in and put like maybe a Nuln oil or something like down the sides once it's all glued together, if that area looks like, that should be darker. Very happy to get all these oil washed because I want to work on some more of my warband members. But I was really diving into this project here with the terrain, and it's spread out all over my tables here. So I need to get this oil washed and set to the side to dry. You can see here it's pretty dry, but when you rub it, you can move it around. And even though I'm not going to do it because I like the way it looks, believe me, if I dip it in some mineral spirits, I could take it all the way off. Like, I could remove it 100%. That's an advantage of oil painting. So let's say this went horribly wrong and I didn't like it, I could get a big brush like this, just putting it in mineral spirits and just basically rinse off all the oil paint. This is cool. I'm pretty happy with this. I'm pretty proud of myself. I didn't think it was maybe bright enough at first, or dark enough, but it has enough purple that it's really tinted. I mean, these were, let's see if, we can take a piece we haven't done yet, like side by side. Let me see what that looks like for you guys. Those were the same, right? The top of this and the top of this. Now the camera's having a hard time picking it up, so let me try to tilt it away, but from the light. But yeah, that's a big difference, and that looks much more like stone, whereas this looks like silver gray airbrush paint. So I'd consider this a success. And we just have the ghost dry brush here sitting, hopefully not being destroyed, because we plan on using it still after we clean up the pieces we already did. I think I've gone through about 5 or 6 Q-tips already. Now these areas I was thinking maybe I would have to use some mineral spirits on my Q-tip to wipe it away, but maybe because we didn't use that much pigment in our initial creation of the wash. I mean, I used quite a bit, but apparently it wasn't that much. I think it's a subtle tint that we don't need to worry too much about completely erasing it away with mineral spirits here. Just trying to, basically where the dry brush hit, really pick out the sharp edges of the Stormcast statues. I don't think I'm even going to bother wiping it too much away from the bottom half. I think we'll let that stay. Cool. Yeah, and the oils give it almost like a sense of like a realism. Now, I'm going to eventually, it will dry with this kind of oily look, but I will actually end up matte coating it all, so that kind of oil effect goes away a bit. But yeah, I think oil actually just has a little bit more of a realistic look, even though I will end up matte coating it. Something about oil, like oil paintings always look, almost so much more real than acrylic paintings, and something about that yumminess of, I don't know what the exact term is, I think it's the yumminess of oil paint makes skin look real, because your skin has a bit of oil on it, keeping it hydrated or whatever. These ones are, if you're losing too much cotton swab, make sure you're not leaving it stuck in everywhere. It's really hard if you're, like sharper edges, they can pull it off. And since I gloss varnished these before I did them, I don't have to be overly cautious on wiping them with the Q-tip. It would be possible to wipe off some of that acrylic paint, obviously, from this much rubbing with the Q-tip. But since it's been gloss varnished, it's way more protected. Oh, this got really dark up here. And yeah, I think we'll actually leave these to dry for a couple days, and then that'll give us a chance to paint a couple more of our actual warband members. Yeah, I still got a lot of like the wood and stuff I gotta do. And I still actually have quite a bit more of these wall sections and stuff I have to wash, but yeah, I think I decided on that last stream when I was doing all that dry brushing and I just didn't get anything done. It was like 2 hours and it just seemed like, man, I don't feel any closer to finishing at all. That's why I just took out the airbrush and sprayed everything and figured it'd be faster to go back and repaint all the wood, because the wood's basically just going to be 1 or 2 browns with a wash. And the wood, I was going to do an oil wash. We might still do that, but we might actually just hit the wood with just a normal acrylic ink wash, like a homemade ink wash. I have videos about making ink washes with flow improver and ink. Basically just those 2 ingredients. Works perfect. Yeah, just trying to, like here, because now that was like a purple to gray, now that gray's been tinted purple, it's a much more smooth like transition. Yeah, I don't think we actually have to be overly, you know, on clean with this here. I think it's good. I think I like it. Kind of a nice dark. So there we go. I'll probably just keep going, but obviously you've seen everything you need to see. But just since I'm up, I'll go ahead and finish the rest of these pieces. Hopefully we can get them done in the next hour. And then they'll all be ready to set aside and dry. So I think we'll jump over here to the bell tower. Oh, actually, you know what we should do? We should get the statue head. This was the only part I was sad about having to airbrush to try to make it match, was because I got a lot on the statue head that I have to redo. But luckily it's mostly in the underneath parts. The statue head also is very light compared to the rest of the terrain and stuff. So I'm hoping this oil wash really darkens it for the purple stuff down here. We'll do the statue head, then the bell tower, then maybe one more wall section, and then clean the statue head, the bell tower, that wall section, and then maybe finish the last couple wall sections. Yeah, whenever you see like a scale model, like a World War II tank, if they ever look really good, it's because they used a lot of oil paint, oil filters, oil washes. That's what makes them look like realistic, tiny little scale models. Like the ones that really achieve that high level of realism. I feel like it's 100% oil paint that does it. Because oil paint is the best. It's the most valuable in art. It's expensive, but for our use, it'll last a very long time. I mean, I made a huge pot, basically. Oh, it's separating. Look at that. It actually... Inquisitor Zane in the building. What's going on? You see, actually my oil pigment and Gamsol is separated here in my thing. So I'll have to make sure I always shake it up before I use it. Yeah, actually, it's super late for me to be on because I went and decided to go to sleep at like 8 o'clock at night. So that meant I woke up at like 4 in the morning. So that's fun. So that's why I'm here at this time. And we're just using the Ghost Dry Brush for oil wash to test it, make sure it works good. I am glad I took the time to make a full squeezy bottle because, man, it would have been stressful if I had like 2 wall sections left and ran out. I got 5 big wall sections left in this and a couple scatter pieces. So we're not out of the weeds yet, but I think we got plenty because we've only barely went just to there. And you can just watch, especially on this kind of tall piece, see the oil paint just run down. See it, it's running down the side there. That's the power of the gloss wash. Or gloss varnish before the oil paint. Makes that surface tension so low. Basically, gravity's going to put this wash exactly where we need it to go. Oh no. I should be a little careful here around this wood, because I don't want to repaint that part if I don't have to. There's nothing satisfying about watching the oil paint run down the model too. This is the tallest piece of the terrain, so it's probably going to take quite a bit of the wash here. Yeah, are you just waking up too, Zane, or are you still up painting all night and just missed the live notification? It's nice too that the oil wash can get in between these kind of deep areas down there, and you know for sure that Q-tip's not reaching that area to wipe it away, so that area is going to remain nice and dark. And realistically, like, I don't even think I need to use the Q-tips. Like, sorry, I got a little cough. I think because I thinned out the wash enough, I don't even know if I really need to spend that time doing the little Q-tip cleaning. But that's what I see everybody else do, so we'll just keep doing it. And it does help, avoid, to make sure we don't want to, leave like a really dark blotch or pooling. So that once over with the Q-tip helps spot any of that. Trying to get it behind these skeletons a little bit. Might end up taking out a pointy brush and just make sure that, I think that's probably fine. I could probably just use this brush. Just trying to make sure behind those skeletons is dark, because they will be obviously painted like bone, and want to make sure they have a nice black background behind them so they pop. But yeah, I think, taking the extra time with the airbrush and the gloss varnish, mixing up our oil wash, I think it's going to pay off that we can now, once this is dry and ready for these details, we could be a little more, base coat wash type style on the details. Because I think we've already built up some good interest in our pre-shading, basically. This one's a little drippy. It's got a lot of oil paint running down it, but that's okay. Make sure we just put it on a piece of paper or something. Oh, that could have been a catastrophe. Guess we don't want to keep our little cups right there. I'm going to need more paper towels. There's just so many terrain pieces. Oh, hold on. Trying to just lay down some paper towels on different surfaces around me to let these dry on, and then just in case when the oil paint runs off or the oil wash runs off, it doesn't stain anything too bad. So also here's another example. Hopefully the oil wash here darkens this one way down because it's way brighter than some of the wall sections. Might be a situation where we might just go in with the black oil wash or plano liner or something to darken this up. But we'll see after it dries how different it actually looks. But it was fairly significantly brighter when I was comparing them earlier, so not ideal. Yeah, Zane, I ended up just going in and airbrushing all these stones and stuff. The dry brushing just wasn't working good enough, and it was taking forever for no real good effect. So figured I'll just airbrush all of this on and paint all the wood again. So if you're working on Warcry terrain, it's definitely worth it if you're going to do this method to just do all the stone first. Don't even worry about the wood, since the wood's going to be basically a simpler brown plus dry brush and a wash. Makes more sense to, if you're going to use the airbrush, use it on the more complicated gradients. All right, putting those just to the side to let that oil paint kind of run off. Because of these pieces that have little pieces of stone next to the wood is why we can't just immediately jump onto the wood parts next. We'll have to actually let this completely dry, which is fine. Like I said, I am happy to get a few more of my actual warband members done. So today the game store opened up today, and just for shopping, not for gaming. And I spent about $400. Well, like it was $320, and that was after my 20% off coupon. So that should be about a $400 trip. And I bought a whole bunch of Idanet Deepkin for Warcry, because it turns out you just need basically a box to start collecting, and then a box of the archers. I start collecting plus a box of the archers, and you have everything you need plus one ally. And then I also picked up 2 heroes that are allies for them that they can use. And then I really should have picked up a second box of eels, which I might have to do next time I feel like buying something. But there's 2 different kinds of eels you can run. And just for future-proofing my hobby, I think it'd make more sense, instead of making, 2 of one type and 1 of the other type from the same box, I think it'd make a little more sense to just make the whole unit as one unit. That way in the future, if I decide I want to sell the Deepkin or whatever, it's a full unit. It's not 2 of these type and 1 of this type. Or who knows, maybe one day I really like Age of Sigmar again and decide to play the Deepkin, and then I'll have a full unit of each instead of 3 of one and 2 of, or 2 of one and 1 of one. So I should have bought 1 more box of eels, but there's a bit of almost like a sense of urgency, because the store's only allowed 5 people at once, and it was the first time they've been open in a while, so you didn't want to necessarily hang out and browse too long, because there was quite a few people waiting to get in. Oh, Bethany's in the building. What's going on, Bethany? If I had a makeup sponge, I 100% would be using a makeup sponge. The only reason I'm not using like a GW or Battle Foam sponge like this is I feel like it is a little more abrasive than the Q-tip. So I don't want to actually rub away any paint, even though it is gloss varnished. But yeah, if I had a makeup sponge, I would have definitely done that. I have like a t-shirt I could cut up. So maybe even that wouldn't be a bad idea, is just rub it real quick with a t-shirt wrapped over my finger. Maybe we'll try it on one. We'll hit this big wall section, and then we'll go back and clean up our bell tower and stuff. But yeah, for a makeup sponge would have been the way to go. I just didn't think about it. Yesterday when I was out at the game store, I should have maybe stopped by like a Walmart or something. Although in this time in the world, it's like you don't want to hang out and browse when you're at the grocery store or at the store. Kind of want to get in and out a little bit. At least I do. You know, I'll wear a mask and whatnot, but normally before all this, you know, if I go to the store, I browse up and down all the aisles and think about, oh, what am I going to use this for? What do I want to cook? And now I try to be a little more in and out of the store. So definitely the Ghost Dry Brush is working perfectly fine for applying the oil wash. We'll see how it cleans once this is all done. I'm purposely not even rinsing it between segments just to see what happens to it. I want to see if it maintains its shape and stuff after all of this. You know, now that actually we are getting to these bigger wall sections, it probably would make sense to just take a t-shirt and wipe it down. Just give it a once over. Maybe a once over with the Q-tip, or a once over with the t-shirt to get any pooling, and then a quick once over with a Q-tip to adjust any pooling that we don't like. It's a good idea, Bethany. I should have bought makeup sponges. But this way, my stream's going to be 5 hours long of me just wiping stuff with Q-tips. Tell you though, I think we really nailed it as far as a good, deep black purple wash color to unify our stonework. I think it really worked out great. If we had done a more pigment-rich wash, we would have to do more cleanup, but we could get much, much darker shadows. But I think this way is going to work really nice. Oh, I saw when I was at the game store yesterday shopping, the owner had purchased the Playmobil Roman arena. It's like a toy Roman gladiator arena, but there's quite a few people online that have turned it into like a cool Warcry arena, or you know, for just special arena battle scenarios and stuff. So it was pretty cool to see that he got one. So hopefully they get that built and painted up. Try out. I think it was in White Dwarf. There was a special Warcry like arena battle scenario. I don't actually buy White Dwarf anymore. It's like I never really would read the articles. They don't tell you any like new information. I'll buy them maybe if there's some rules in them for something I want, but hardly ever. But yeah, with things like Instagram and stuff, it's like I don't need White Dwarf to look at pictures of models. I have unlimited pictures of cool models at all times because I have Instagram. Whereas in the past, White Dwarf, you're like, oh, Look at all these awesome models people painted. But with Instagram, you could do that 24 hours a day. So in these bigger wall pieces too, it would probably make more sense to use a bigger brush like this, or even a bigger like mop brush. I have one really nice mop brush that I use to dust my miniatures sometimes, so I'm not going to put oil paint on it, but because this brush is good, but it's maybe a little small for hitting all of these surfaces. But at least this way we're not totally flooding the model, and we are using some level of control. Let's see if we can fill in that area there. Cool. Let those dry and drain a little bit, and let's go to our bell tower. Which one did we do first? I think we did the statue first. Oh, nice. Yeah, you're doing your, is it your Warcry set? Yeah, I hadn't actually seen anybody do them like this. I've seen people do them like a purple blue. I think there's a video on YouTube to watch like a purple blue. Purple blue effect, and it looks cool, but I wanted it to almost try to have a sense of oh no. Okay, I think I lucked out there. I just hit that little cup and tipped it, but luckily there's no paint in it. Or not a lot anyway. God, I almost dumped it. Man, I'm being a little messy here, I guess. But yeah, you can see people have done a purple blue, like demonic kind of look, which is cool, but I wanted somewhere a balance between like a realism and supernatural, I guess. Maybe there's a purple tint to the world around, to the sand, you know, maybe it's a purple sand area and the purple light is bouncing off the sand from the sun. One thing that often happens, which we're going to just fully embrace as we go on, you know, I think I'm going to spend a little less time wiping and cleaning each individual piece. And I think that's going to be fine. I don't think it's going to be a big deal if, you know, we spent a little extra. Oh, I missed quite a bit of here, though. Spent a little extra time on the earlier pieces trying to make sure we wiped it all away nice. And I don't think you're going to need to do that. I think we're okay just making sure these, you know, areas like this are not pooled. These areas, though, yeah, if I took maybe like a t-shirt and just wiped it real quick. But I think we'll save ourselves some trouble by just simply not wiping it that much. Because I really actually do like the staining effect that our wash gave. It has a nice unifying effect to what we've done. And we don't need to even worry too much about the lower sections. the purple wash over the purple areas is going to be just fine without our help. Get the tops of these. I don't know if we can see that good on camera, but cool. I think that's good. Then we got these little sections, which are basically don't have to do much. Just give them a little wipe. You gotta roll. This one, I purposely, oh, it's so bright. This one was such a fail as far as it's so much brighter down here than the others. I need to somehow darken that without having to redo it. That'll probably be something I have to experiment with off camera. It's going to be frustrating, filled with rage. But I think what might end up happening is maybe just a thin black airbrush spray in near the bottom, or possibly a separate layer of just a black oil wash near the bottom. I don't know. I think it's one of those things that probably is only going to bother me and nobody else is ever going to mention it or notice. Unless they watch the stream, of course. But yeah, I mean, there's a big difference in brightness of purple near the bottom. This one, I just didn't have enough, I guess, black undercoating on it. I went way too heavy into my highlighted stone colors and I covered up the bottom parts. But it's hard. I'm going to bring that piece back real quick. It's hard to decide, like, really this whole thing should be all dark, right? If you look at its height, you know, this thing only goes to there, so that's there. This whole thing should be all dark. But outside of realism, I wanted to just repeat that it had a dark to light gradient, the way this has a dark to light gradient just over a bigger surface. So I wanted all of them to have a light from above, kind of stone color, and a darker purple below. But it didn't quite work on that one. I feel like that's going to tip over into my wash. So we'll have to figure that out. Like, these ones are brighter for sure as well. You know, like, there's no dark purple down here at the bottom. So whatever we do to that other one, we'll probably do to these. But these are such small pieces. You know, we're talking about little teeny tiny stones. It's not the same visual effect as the one that actually has bigger pieces of columns sitting there that you maybe want to see more of a value change on. Yeah, so I did these purple walls on stream. I know they're a little long-winded for watching back, but if you click around, you can see all the colors I used. If you like this style, I think any purples and stuff would work really well. I use Minotaur paint mostly because I wanted to use my Minotaur paint. I like it, it's good in the airbrush and stuff, but I don't use it a lot, so if I have any, you know, finishing up the Minotaur bottles, if I ever do, you know, I can actually just get them off my paint table. And then maybe one day I'd buy a couple of them again if I saw them as individuals. Some of the colors are pretty cool. Some of them are just kind of generic, you know, browns and stuff. Looks like we got 4 more wall sections left. instead of doing it back and forth and leaving those lines, I'm trying to kind of make it look a little more random. And this is where we probably speed up our effort in cleaning, because these wall sections are just much bigger than what we've been working on. And I don't think I need to sit here and get every last piece. The finished product's gonna probably have the same visual impact regardless. At this point, if it looks good, it looks good, or if it doesn't, it doesn't. There's nothing we can do about it now. Now it's gonna look better once all the little bricks and stuff are picked out, but that's a little bit, kind of filled it up down there. Oh, Bethany's off to bed. Have a good one. Well, I guess I'm actually behind a little bit on the chat. Sorry. After this wall section, I can catch up. Have a good night, Bethany. Alright, we got one more little part and then we should be okay to take a little bit of a pause. I saw Zane mention some Nuln Oil. I'll have to see what he was talking about. Cool. Anywhere it really flooded in these little parts at the bottom, I'm just not overly cautious, but you know, putting the Q-tip down there to happen to absorb it if it touches it. If it doesn't, then it's probably tucked away enough that it doesn't matter. Cool. All right, let's see what's going on in the chat. Oh, my hands are dirty. Even with my gloves on, I got dirty hands here. Oh. So much terrain. Trying to get a little organized here for the next pieces. That way I have room to put them somewhere to dry. And I think what I'll end up doing is, you know, I'll be able to put these, I'll leave them here while they dry. I'll go back to working on my Kickstarter brushes and then come back later in the day and move them. So we got, we'll do this piece next. Let me catch up on the chat here. I painted up a set of turbo lasers and guys are coming in. Oh, nice. Terrain work also. Someone in a Facebook group showed a store local to him selling 6-packs of washers and paints. Oh, they just bought a bunch of Nuln Oil? That seems unnecessary. It's not like there's a toilet paper shortage, but no oil shortage. Oh, Zane took off to the Chilling Wargamer stream. Awesome. I haven't really watched much of them. They have a bot in the chat. Fix it. I don't know what that means, but am I supposed to have a bot in the chat? Alright, on to this wall section here. Because the mineral spirits breaks down the oil paint, that's going to hopefully keep our brush nice all the way through without having to rinse it. I think I'll do the inside wall section first. Still four more, the four biggest walls after this. Oh no, I got one more small one and then two big ones. So maybe I'll do this one, then a big one, and then clean them, and then do the last two, I guess, something like that. And then we'll be done until we're moving on to the next step, but we don't have to worry about that just yet. Yeah, I'll probably share this one to the Kickstarter as an update. Let people check it out. I don't know if the Kickstarter backers, the majority of them, probably aren't super interested in the YouTube update videos, but because I'm still waiting on the factory, I don't have a ton to update on until I get those brushes shipped to me from the factory. Which, depending on how long that takes, they might be getting an update saying there's a delay. The factory has not told me there's a delay, but I'm suspecting there might be. And the miniatures being sculpted should be ready to me by the end of the month. As far as I know, no delays on those, so that's good. Alright, we got the inside of the wall there. Make sure we get the edge here. This terrain's been a pretty fun project, but I am reaching the I kind of wish I was done with it stage. Just because I was in such a good groove of getting models finished, and one's up for sale, and one's for my Eldar army, and Space Marines for my Space Marine army, and all this stuff for Gaslands, and blah blah blah, board game miniatures. And then this, like, it's obviously I'm making good progress and getting this done for my own collection or set, but it just has that feel of like, oh, this is taking a while. Even though the Gamsol's less toxic than normal mineral spirits, there's still quite a bit of fumes in the air here. It's odorless, but I know those fumes are there. Even though I can't smell them, I know they're in my brain right now. So it'll be nice to kick the fans on high, maybe open some windows, which, you know, you try to keep the volume in the room pretty low of anything, just hopefully for everybody's sake, that you don't hear much humming. But would be nice to maybe have a little bit more circulation going here. But that's okay. Now, because I made this pre-mixed oil wash, I do have the advantage that I could just take a break and come back and finish later. But I only got 3 more pieces to go. So I think we just keep on pushing forward. It'll all be worth it when I bring it to the local game store in 2024 and get to play a game and people come by and go, hey, that's cool terrain. And I go, thanks. Thank you. Thank you so much. I put in quite a bit of time on it. Partially, this is probably feeling like a little bit of like, oh, I want to be done as well because I just bought all those Deepkin models. And, oh, I also bought the Crusher and the Ogroid guy. So because I just bought those models, you know, I want to finish up the Unmade Warband and start getting to work a bit on those. We'll do the small one. But we can't actually work on the Unmade Warband while every surface is covered with wooden sharp spikes and wall sections and statue pieces and stuff. So nice. It would be nice to get this stuff finished and moving out of the way. Probably have to get a nice little Tupperware or something, big plastic bin to store all this in. Because I guess if I'm spending this much time on it, I should take care of it. It is terrain, so it's going to get beat up, but hopefully with the matte varnish I mixed in when I airbrushed, and then the gloss varnish I did before the oil wash, and then the next layer of matte varnish it's going to get to matte down all this oil wash, hopefully it could take somewhat of a beating and not be chipping, because it has a lot of varnish layers in it. Could even go with, like, I'm not gonna, but, you know, the Future floor wax, which is like super gloss thick, almost like enamel coating, and then matte coat after that. But I don't actually have any of that floor polish. That's what people used to use to really protect their metal miniatures so they wouldn't chip, because metal miniatures were always chipping the paint off of them. You spend all this time on them, and everybody's tips of their hair and noses and stuff were all just, paint was flaking off. Do not miss the metal miniatures at all. In fact, I often try to get rid of them. Even like the Eldar miniatures I've been working on, I've been getting rid of the metal ones and just going with the fine cast. Even though fine cast has its problems, I don't want to deal with the metal either. At least the fine cast is lightweight, and although brittle, yeah, I don't know. I say it's brittle, but it's less likely to chip. But I guess that doesn't mean anything if the actual piece just snaps off instead of chipping, so who knows. Heck, if I get this terrain finished and my warband finished, maybe I'll just go over to a friend's house and play some Warcry at their house. Assuming they, they're not infected, and trust that I'm not infected. But it seems like mid-June there might be gaming again. So we just reopened today with like a soft phase 1. Things can start opening again. I'm not sure if like salons and haircut places can open yet, but like limited employees and limited occupancy type stuff happened today. And then June 15th, I think, is like when dine-in at bars and restaurants and gyms and stuff open up. So if a gym can open up June 15th, then I'm going to say a game room at a game store can open June 15th. Now, probably, of course, still up to the owner. But that's enough time, if yesterday things had a soft kind of reopening, if things get out of hand really bad really quick, then they'll readjust what the time frame looks like for getting things up and running again. But hopefully everything goes well and smoothly and everybody's safe and we get through it. And June 15th, everything's back to normal. And Saturday games are a thing again. All right, we got that one and we got the other one, so I guess we could probably clean them. Got a crazy drink here. I'm drinking a wild tonic kombucha. It's pretty delicious. It's funny that when you quit partying and drinking alcohol and stuff, all of a sudden something funky like a kombucha tastes pretty good. Kind of feels like ooh, this is a unique drink. Even though I'm just woke up, so it's kind of my morning coffee in a way, but see if we can't quickly clean up some of these walls. And we're still, I'm planning on going back and stippling some, and probably a touch of dry brush too, even just to, oh god, that one's falling apart. Just to bring back some highlight. A nice subtle dry brush highlight at the end after it's been matte coated again. And that would be probably it for all the stonework. pretty happy with it so far. Probably tell I'm definitely trying to move a little quicker through some of this. When you're doing the same thing for so long, you get a little bored. I don't think I could ever be like a terrain builder. And I think we actually speed up the process of cleaning it a little bit if we switch Q-tips a little more often. Get the fresh Q-tips in there, and while they're extra absorbent. Now, of course, going faster like this, though, I see I'm leaving some cotton. All right, let's get this one. Going a little fast, but having the bright lights help to spot if I did accidentally get cotton tore off the end here and stuck on the model. We don't want that. If anybody's watching and wants to throw a like on the video, that always helps the streams get more viewers. Although this is probably more of something people might want to come back and watch just part of, just for a little bit of, watch the beginning, maybe a little bit of mixing your oil wash. Then you can click really to any part of this and just watch for a little bit to see kind of how it's applied and cleaned off. Yeah, we're 2 more pieces to go, and then set these to the side and get to work on quality control on paintbrushes that need to be shipped for my Kickstarter. Or maybe even I'll go outside for a walk or something. A little bit of exercise before I get back in the chair for another couple hours. That's probably best. All right, here's the biggest, longest piece here. And then we got one more that's a little complicated. So it looks like we made plenty. I kind of like how it's separating, and then you can see how much pigment or whatever. This one we might maybe just wash this one and then clean this one right away because it's so big, and I don't know if it's going to make a huge difference not giving the wash a little bit of time to settle though. But we'll try it, and then if it does make a big difference, we can just reapply the wash and set it to the side and do the other one. But I think on this size piece. It makes maybe a little more sense to be able to just get it washed, wiped up a little bit, and set to the side for a day. I like the way my unmade guys are coming out, but this actually would be a pretty good wash to use on them too, because they have a lot of cool kind of purpley tones in their skin and stuff. I'm going to have so much extra. I don't know if I'm going to commit to doing that though, but I could. I did Agrax wash them, so that they have been washed. So I'm not sure I want to even oil wash them, but I'll probably save this wash and do a unit of maybe like a purple to maroon or purple to red Dark Reaper squad. Maybe a purple Dark Reaper squad for my Eldar. Or even a purple to red Fire Dragon squad, maybe. Or maybe use this wash on the eels for my Deepkin. Something like that. I don't know what color they're going to be yet, but so we'll find some uses for it. Maybe the next time I paint a beholder, maybe I've kind of done a purple one before, but maybe do a purple beholder and give it this kind of purple tone wash. Alright, that's one side done. Looks like it must be 80 degrees in here because the air conditioner just kicked on. I had it set to like 80, so hopefully it wouldn't kick on during this, but since I decided to do all the pieces on stream, it's bound to happen with all these lights on. So I apologize if you can hear the hum of the air conditioner. Yeah, a piece like this, definitely a makeup sponge would be nice just to quickly run over all these long wall sections and remove excess paint. But we're in the home stretch. Just a little bit more on this piece, clean it up, and then the last piece, clean it up. And then we're going to call it a night. Or a day. Because this is actually, I already slept, so this is kind of a morning thing for me right now. Sometimes I'm a late night person, though. If you've seen any of these streams before, often I'm going really late at night, but I'm going to try and actually change that up a little bit and get a little more regular with my sleep schedule. Maybe not even regular is the right word. Maybe normal is the right word. Get on the kind of normal sleep schedule of the rest of the world. Heck, when the game store opens back up, I can't be sleeping all day. I gotta catch up on getting some games in with my friends. Took it for granted before. You could sleep in, just show up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and everybody's already been there since noon gaming, and you just hang out. But I want to play. All right, that looks like we got it. Now let's see what happens if we just start cleaning it right away. I expect it's probably not a great idea because letting it settle is probably a little better for where I'm touching, but you know, letting it stain the surfaces a little more. Some of this won't matter a ton because we'll be able to put one more, well, as many as we want, but I'm planning on putting one more touch of a dry brush over it. Hopefully the oil gives it this rich, nice look. Of course, when we hit it with the varnish, you know, some of this nice, rich look from the oil is going to go away. But the fact that the whole thing's covered in oil paint, it should enough, even with the matte coat, affect, you know, the finished product enough to have a nice, unique finish and look to it. Just kind of rolling and kind of sometimes wiping, sometimes rolling the Q-tips over. One part I always try to actually wipe clean is this little top piece above the statues. I don't know why, but on all of them I've been trying to get that part looking a little clean. Give it a little highlight, I guess, above. All right. Now we got to do the inside. Actually, I can't remember. Maybe I already did the inside. You know, it looks like I maybe already did the inside. Now I'm drawing a blank. If anybody's watching in the chat, did I already do the inside of this one? I think I did. If not, I mean, the wash looks like I did, so I guess we're done with that. Cool. One more to go. Got a nice. This one I did first, and I glued this top wooden piece on, and that obviously was a mistake because it made it harder to get underneath for everything. But luckily, I only did it to one, and then I kept all the others separate. That's another thing. Luckily, we don't have to worry about too much. Is some of the tops of these will be covered by this, plus overhanging wood, so we should be fine. I think I'll hold on to here and do this part last. Last piece, final stretch. Let me know if you have any questions. Maybe because we'll have all this extra oil wash too, maybe I'll paint the roaming monsters thematically with the terrain in kind of these same, not the same colors, but, you know, make them look like they're kind of color harmony with the terrain. Then I could use the oil wash on them as well. I don't know. We got options. I'm not in any rush to start the little wandering monsters. But once I finish my unmade warband, then I'll probably consider moving on to them before I start the Deepkin warband. Looks like... I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to say everything. I'm looking at, some of the stuff that's kind of been drying now for an hour or whatever. The first pieces that we worked on. And I'm going to say it looks pretty good. I think it was worth it. It might be a hard video to necessarily watch step by step and follow along for your own, but if you click around, you could find everything we did. Or I did. And I think you'd be pretty happy if you attempted something like this on your own set. Yeah, I think after this I might stretch a little because I've been hunched over oil paint fumes and Gamsol mineral spirits. Maybe stretch a little, go for a little walk outside, and then on to work on the Kickstarter. Seems like a good Saturday. Make it productive, and since we're not just going to get to spend the whole day at the game store gaming, going to be going over to my parents later, and it's my dad's birthday, so gotta hang out with the dogs, the family dogs, and the parents a little bit. Yeah, it's a bummer all the work I did on the wood got, I have to redo it all. But I think this saved a ton of time just airbrushing all that stonework. One thing I wish there was more Warcry content on YouTube. Now, it's probably slow right now just because not as many people are even gaming right now, of course. But even going back, it looks like a whole bunch of Warcry content 9 months ago, when it came out. And then it kind of doesn't have a ton of channels. I mentioned some channels that I like watching right now that are really cool. But I've been super interested on my Warcry right now, as you can hear me blabbering about over and over again. And so it would be nice if I could find some more stuff to watch. Might have to just go back to listening to audiobooks while I work instead of battle reports and stuff. Haven't done it. I used to do non-stop audiobooks, but lately I haven't. I've been doing documentaries and Warcry stuff lately. So maybe gotta find an audiobook on YouTube to listen to. Get back into the groove of trying to learn while I paint. Well, not paint, but work on my paint brushes. With the stream, I don't have anything on. I guess I could wear headphones that I could hear and you guys couldn't, but then I might be paying attention to what I'm listening to and not paying attention to narrating what's going on for everybody watching. Trying to work on making these somewhat entertaining. Obviously, a big help would be if I could get the camera set up really, really nice. That way it would just visually be fun to watch, or more fun. I think the camera's looking okay these days, but I know I could do better. I know there's a way to do it better anyway. I haven't figured out how to do it better, but... Alright, that was the last piece. Time to get out the Q-tips. Nope, I totally missed the inside of that. We roll dice in the building. Awesome. Hey, if you're putting your Warcry terrain together, make sure you check out some YouTube videos on how to build it correctly. Because there's some videos that show you exactly how to build it, so you don't have like wasted pieces, and that way you can make all the variations of the cards. Because on the cards, when you flip them, it shows you like how to set up the board. And I guess there's ways you can build your terrain to not be able to actually set up all the variations. Because the pieces are, you can connect them in different ways and put platforms on different stuff. So I was happy I found some of those YouTube videos that kind of showed you which pieces to put together. Kind of a weird set in the Warcry box set. You got these terrain cards to show you, kind of how to set up your battlefield. But then when it comes to building the ruins, it kind of just says, go crazy. Tells you how to build the fences and stuff, but for the ruins, it's just kind of like, well, here's all the ruins, put them together. Just kind of odd. Yeah, so I've been oil washing them here tonight. It's been quite an effort. Now I'll let them dry for a couple days. Hit them with some kind of matte varnish. Hit them with the dry brush again. Just one more light dry brush. And then I get to go in and start picking out all the metal gates and the bricks, which will be fun for the first hour, and then it'll get tedious, but that's kind of been the story of terrain for me right now is, I got this cool idea, gonna airbrush this gradient and purple and dry brush, and then after a while it's like, oh my god, it's nice you get so much terrain in the starter set, but it's also a lot to paint. And I've seen some good videos where people speed painted this, in an afternoon or whatever. And it looks pretty good. But I'm trying to bring it to that next level of, make people want to play on this terrain. And I mentioned before in some of my other streams, I don't own any terrain besides this. I always get rid of it if it comes in a starter set or something. So because this is my terrain for my home, if I decide to do some Warcry gaming at home or something, then I think I'll appreciate that I took the extra time and did the extra washes and stuff. And even though I don't think painting terrain's my favorite, who knows, like, once I have all this done and battling and having finding plenty of people to play Warcry with and we're all having a good time, maybe I'll pick up one of the expansion sets, like the temple or maybe the graveyard. There's also the forest, but I'm just not sure the forest one maybe adds enough. Forest, you don't think you got anything to climb on or anything. Although the trees look nice. I don't know, we'll see. Who knows, maybe one day I will become be able to upload some sort of battle report content. Probably not. One thing, when people ask me about video stuff, editing, I don't really edit my videos because I don't know how, but, or, about, battle reports or stuff like that, it's like, I'm not interested really in videography at all. It's just not a hobby that I want to be good at necessarily. Obviously, I wouldn't mind growing the YouTube channel much bigger and having lots of viewers and all of that, but actual cameras don't interest me the way painting does. So I'm trying to do the best of both worlds where I can share my love of painting without the stress of video editing. You get some people who have big YouTube painting channels and they clearly spend most of their time editing videos and not painting models, which is not the life I'm trying to build. All right, I think we got it. Oh, just making sure I think we did it. Check the top again, just make sure that's looking good. All right, about 40 Q-tips and 3 hours, and we did it. Hey, we roll dice. What warband are you working on? I only finished one guy so far, but I got the unmade. He actually would look pretty nice with this oil wash, but I got the unmade guy here. So now that I got my oil wash on all my models, or my terrain, I'll be able to hit up a couple more of my unmade models and get them finished up, instead of having all this terrain covering all my painting area. So yeah, I think maybe Sunday, Monday, I'll matte coat all of this. Maybe Sunday night, matte coat it all. And then maybe get to work a little bit on getting all the details picked out. All right, so we're wanting to test the Ghost Dry Brush for its ability to do oil washes, just for all the backers. Now that oil paint, especially that ultramarine rose, really gave it a nice, pretty purple stain. All right, so you use a paper towel when you're getting rid of oil paint. Just wipe as much of it away as you can. give it basically a pinch, like a squeeze, and you're kind of rocking your fingers a little bit, and you can see it. Well, let's see. There's there, pretty white. Put that there. Give it a pinch, and you can see we can get some out. So that's kind of a good way to start your cleaning process. Then we're gonna take some odorless mineral spirits, and we're gonna rinse it off. Now, because we already took that extra second to wipe off as much of that excess paint as we could, we're not going to completely just turn this into another oil wash. You can see it's fairly clear. And there we go. Looks pretty good. I'm going to rip a piece of paper towel here. Let's see. So a white paper towel. Squeeze out the moisture, and there's a little bit of a purple there, but some of it might be coming from my glove even. So there we go. That looks pretty good. That's how you would clean it for the most part. And then off camera, what I'm going to do is take some Dawn dish soap. Dawn cuts through grease and oil, which of course oil paint has a lot of oil in it. So the Dawn dish soap will help remove any remaining oil in our brush. I'm going to put this on a thing. Might have to give my area a nice wipe down after all this. Mineral spirits evaporate, but yeah, there we go. We didn't even have to dip our Q-tips into the mineral spirits to clean off anything. Seemed like we got a pretty decent effect with just using the dry Q-tips and just taking the majority of, the excess paint off and not worrying too much about bringing it all the way back to its original light color. Here's some of the original first pieces we did tonight. A lot more, still drawing obviously, but a lot more shadow in it. Hopefully unifies it all together really nicely. And yeah, I think that touch of dry brush will be all we need to tie it all together again and bring out those nice sharp highlights. So I'm going to call it right there. I think we've been going for, get the gloves off, my hands are sweaty. I'm going a little under 3 hours. We got all the terrain oil washed and cleaned. And now it's just a waiting game to let this oil completely settle dry. The plan will be to matte varnish, then dry brush the highlight back on. We might just make a little video of maybe dry brushing a single part just for the YouTube channel. I don't think we need to stream dry brushing the entire terrain set because obviously it takes a very long time. And then after that dry brush, we pick out the metal doors and windows, the metal details on the wood spikes, pick out all the wood, kind of the door knocker type things, the bell, fix up the statue we had to spray a little bit, and glue it all together, and I think we're done. Oh, a couple skulls. Well, actually a lot of skulls and skeletons we gotta do. But I still can't believe how many skulls they stuffed in these little details, but they'll be mostly base coat and then contrast paint on the skulls, I think. Save us some hassle. But yeah, so with this step, we are now, I'd say, quite a bit of a ways through the Warcry terrain. The next stream I'll probably be painting up this guy, who is just zenithal primed and hit with a purple wash. So he's ready to go to be painted up. He's one of the just chaff models. Unmade minion guy. What's he called? An awakened one? He's an awakened one with a spear. So we're going to have 2 awakened ones with spears, 2 awakened ones with flails. We're going to have to convert one. And then after that, we can work on the kind of more powerful characters in Warband. And then I picked up also the Minotaur and the Crusher guy. So we got all kinds of stuff to be painting. And I'm actually pretty excited about the Deepkin models I got. I think I have a cool color scheme idea for those Internet Deepkin models. So hopefully we can get through some of this stuff. And then, although if I have a fully painted Unmade Warband and a fully painted Deepkin Warband before I even get a play, that might be a problem of hobby ADD that I won't even know which one to play, you know, if we're playing a campaign. So, I don't know. I'm planning on playing a lot of Warcry coming up, hopefully. All right, thank you everybody so much for watching. Please subscribe and leave any comments down below. Show you, here's how the oil wash went over our statue. And here's the oil wash, just a last view of it. This is the really bright one that has some problems with not matching the rest of the terrain. Also, like my dry brush highlight got a little out of hand on those. So, I don't know how we're going to adjust this, but we might try something. But that's all we got for you right now. So, thank you so much. Please like and subscribe to the video. I'll try to go back and timestamp when it actually starts to be an oil wash video and not just me mixing an oil wash, because that took quite a while. Because I mixed up a whole pot here in a shaker. You can see it's separating. But I wanted to make sure I had plenty for this project. I didn't want to stress if I ran out. And now I got some extra for, you know, just when I'm painting some D&D models or whatever. So, all right, everybody. Talk to you soon. Take care. Be safe.